the host of the night who helped us out create this, but at first he will be thanking everyone and he will be officially doing the Q&A for us. Ladies and gentlemen, Denys Kapush! Woohoo! Yay! Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much, Louis. And thank you everyone for, first of all, for being here and for spending your Friday evening with us. I incredibly emotional right now, as probably many of you today that share the same feelings about the Ukraine and the future of democracy in today's world. So without further ado, I'd like to invite our incredible panelists to the stage. Viktor, please welcome Robert. Vitalina, Jan, please welcome to the stage. Thank you so much, our honorable and incredible panelists, for being here today and for everything you do and you have done within your career leading to this moment. And I feel that this is a very special moment for us, not only in the history, but just this year in 2025. And thank you so much all for being here today in front of our incredible audience who is here today to see the Ukrainian premiere in the United States. Please give a round of applause to our incredible panel. And before I get started, I would like to say huge thank you to our sponsors. The Ukraine is Europe is a Ukrainian nonprofit organization that is fighting in Ukraine. And then Razum for Ukraine, who is also here today in a big representation. Thank you so much for making today's event happen and for everything you do for the Ukraine, for the democracy and the future of our kids. Thank you so much. And before I get started, a quick little announcement. We're going to have an after party after the Q&A session. It's literally down the block. It's 1 minute away from here. And the name is called the City Tavern and Table. So if you like to hang out with some of our panelists, Viktor, and have more discussions, please, you're welcome to join us. It's like 1 minute down the block. The place is called City Tavern and Tables. And then on to the next. So today's panel discussion topic is about courage, leadership, and the future of democracy. And we're going to talk about some lessons that we have learned from the Ukrainian movie. And let me introduce our incredible panelists. And I'm going to start from my right hand. We have a Robert Bentempo, who is a director of Negotiation Strategy Program at Columbia Business School Executive Education. Robert has advised the U.S. State Department under both Republican and Democrat administration. He has worked closely with the United Nations. He has been also named as the Business Week magazine one of the top MBA professors in the U.S. Robert, thank you for joining us today. Next, we have a Viktor Nordenskiöld, who is the film director of the Eukranian. And Viktor is an award-winning Swedish film director, producer, and international news journalist. He has made many films for the Swedish TV, and there's so much we can talk about Viktor's background and the movies he has produced. Viktor, thank you so much for making this movie and for coming here today from Sweden.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce Vitalina Shevchenko. Vitalina works for at the Minister Action Office under Ministry of Economy of Ukraine, and she holds the position of Youth Delegate of Ukraine to the United Nations for 2025 and 2026 year. Welcome, Vitalina. Thank you for joining us. And last, I'd like to introduce Jan Earl Ruzhitsky. Jan is a community manager at the digital platform of Ukrainians abroad called Strichka, very special name. also a project coordinator and deputy chair of Youth Council under Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine 2023 and 2025. He also represents Ukraine as the youth delegate to the United Nations in 2025 and 2026. Jan, thank you for coming. And without further ado, I would like to jump into questions, and we're going to have some incredible discussions. So first question, I would like to open to all panelists. And the question is, so the Ukrainian film captured leadership in the most extreme circumstances. The question is, what struck you the most about Olha Stefanishkina journey and the world she's operating in? Would you like to take a...
Should I start?
Yes.
Okay. No, but I mean, to have that position in such a extreme circumstances is of course very special. And I mean, there's so many things about her and about the leadership in Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. But one thing that strikes you directly, I mean, the first time I met her was actually in Prague, as you see in the film. And that in the middle of this terrible situation, that you still have so much optimism, actually. And that you use humor as a way also to fight the daily life, to make everything work. So that's what I mean, to have that. And I think it's not only Olga Stefanishina, actually, it's many people in Ukraine you meet to have the same sort of charming humor and the courage to accept the situation and do whatever you can with the situation.
Thank you, Victor. Vitalina, Robert, Jan, would you like to add something?
Sure.
Please go ahead.
Okay. First of all, thank you. It's a great pleasure to be today here. It's a great movie. Thank you again for doing this. And what astonished me the most, and I would say also what I related the most to, because I'm Ukrainian, I live in Ukraine and Kyiv, originally from Kharkiv, which is in the east of Ukraine. So when Olga Stefanishina mentioned that, especially at the beginning of the full-scale invasion, all they wanted to do was to scream to international audience about what is happening, about what kind of support we need, what is happening, what Russian atrocities are here. I can relate to that 100%. And that why this word scream? Because there are no rule books what to do when the war happens. There is no structure that you could follow. So the only thing you kind of can do is to follow your intuition. And when you are it's a very new experience to you. It's a shock to you. People reacted differently. So when she mentioned this, but also continued and showed how she continued the work to be resilient, to just focus on the work and the idea that she has to. And this is a great representation of the idea of Ukrainian people. So I would say that this is what resonated the most. Thank you.
Thank you, Vitalina. Jan and Robert, would you like to add something?
Yeah, thank you. I think I'll agree with most of what Vitalina said, and I would also add that this is an incredible example of leadership and persistence throughout the war, and most importantly, it shows that professionals in the field of international relations, diplomacy, European integration need to be aware of the realities of politics. And unfortunately, we cannot avoid such a thing as individual national interests. That's fine with every country. And I think that the movie shows how incredibly Ms. Stefanishina manages that, how she's able to stick to the final and ultimate policy goal of Ukraine's European integration, avoid unnecessary entangling in emotional conversations that I think many people, if they would not dissociate their personalities from their main occupations in diplomacy, would also engage with. And I think this is an incredible example of how diplomacy should work, even when something deems as not possible. Eventually, you can see that it is quite achievable.
Thank you, Jan. Robert?
Thank you, Dennis. I'd like to make two observations if the question is about courage. I thought the film captured courage in a very beautiful way. We sometimes tend to forget that these people that we look to for leadership are human beings. And your ability to capture the courage she had to show dealing with her children, separated for 4 months, which at the time she didn't know when it was going to end. And remembering that these people are human beings wrestling with their own personal challenges, and the courage she had to show making very tough decisions about how to balance her personal life with her professional obligations. There's a second part of courage that I think Viktor deserves some credit for in the film. I was so impressed with your willingness to show the real behind-the-scenes thing. Of course, some editing went on, but your willingness to tackle the corruption issue and show that she had to wrestle with these challenges, and that she was sometimes surprised by internal dissensions on that vote regarding the minorities' rights. I thought that was courageous on your part to show not just a puff piece, but the actual behind-the-scenes thing, and I think that made it a much more powerful film. So credit to you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Moving into the next question, which I think is in a way philosophical, but also I feel like it's so important in today's day and age, is about the gender diversity and specifically women in leadership. So the next question is, and there's a little bit of a data and facts to that. So listen to this. As of September 12, 2025, according to the data from UN Women and the Inter-Parliamentary Union, around 50%, 15, of world's heads of state and government are women. So 75% of all the positions are
85.
occupied.
85 even.
85, exactly. Thank you for the correction. I hold by the male population. So I see no reason not to be a 50%. And I want to ask all our panelists, again, this is question to all. If the current state of the world would have been different and overall diplomatic leadership have been more gender equal, in your imagination, how would the world look like today if we had the equal leadership in gender?
I can maybe start now, but it's sort of a rhetorical question, of course, that we never know exactly. So, I mean, you cannot say that is sort of on individual basis that's going to be different. But of course, for everybody, of course, it should be 50%. There's no reason for 15%. I don't know. I mean, you can look at the world leaders today, creating the wars. These wars we have today, I don't see so many women in that group. So I definitely think it will be different. And I will ask you, actually, what do you think? That's most important.
I would love to hear Vitalina's answer as a woman. Do you have any kids? Do you have any kids?
No.
Okay, so as a future mother and woman in leadership, how do you feel about that?
Thank you for the question. One thing that I want to highlight at first is the crucial and the essential part of women during the armed aggression, any armed aggression. And many people who live in, let's say, peaceful times, they don't believe in, let's say, women, peace and security, WPS agenda, very fancy words. And it's true, if you don't believe in this, you cannot change nothing, and no one can change this. But during the war times, regardless of what you thought before, regardless of what is your background is, you understand that you cannot win this war without women. What a crucial part they play. If we talk about armed forces of Ukraine, I was just checking the statistics, that's why I was on my phone. We have 70,000 women serving in the armed forces of Ukraine. We have just this summer appointed the second female prime minister. So Ukraine is a great example of how female leadership actually matters. And let's be honest, even before full-scale invasion in Ukraine, we had quite a few great examples of women in the leadership positions in the government, and not only. But if we look from the very practical perspective, after the beginning of the full-scale invasion, a lot of women, but even more men, joined the armed forces of Ukraine. So all these positions, managerial positions, leadership in governments, are now available for women as well. And guess what? Everything works really well, and there are many opportunities. So I would phrase my answer in that Ukraine is a great example of having women in the leadership positions, and that if you in your countries do not believe in that, you can, or someone of your friends or colleagues do not believe in that, just give Ukraine as an example. And yeah, that's very inspirational for me as a young woman who also aspires some leadership positions one day. It's a great example. Thank you.
Thank you, Vitalina.
Thank you. Pretty much agree with what Vitalina mentioned, and I would also say that I'm really glad that we currently live in the world which is aware of the stereotypes, especially about women, and that the world currently is willing to face and overcome those stereotypes. That is extremely important. So I think there is no need to mention the very obvious fact that women in leadership positions, in almost every position, are extremely efficient professionals who need to be valued for that. And I'm really glad that Ukraine is making every possible step in this direction, whether it be in diplomacy, whether it be appointing ambassadors, whether it be, as Vitalina mentioned, having the second female prime minister in the history of the independent Ukraine since 1991. And those women show incredible leadership. They most essentially show that human part in them, because as you've mentioned, people are not robots. They're human beings, and they demonstrate that life part in them, and this movie I think also demonstrates a great deal of that. And finishing my answer, I used to teach English when I was a student, and 95% of my students were women, and they were incredible students. So on my part, I have no stereotypes in this case, and I'm glad that we are moving in the right direction to completely eradicating those stereotypes.
Thank you, Jan.
You may be surprised to hear a business school professor quoting Chairman Mao Zedong, but he famously said, "Women hold up half of the sky." So I see no reason why they shouldn't be half of it. I will say, your film captured beautifully this heroine, not because she was a woman, but because she was effective, because she was tireless, because she was courageous. And I think that was the most powerful way to present women's roles in leadership.
And that was one of the points, of course, we don't talk about it in the film, but you can maybe emotionally feel it. That was so thank you for noticing that.
Thank you so much, everyone, and please let's give a round of applause to the women in leadership, to our beautiful women, our beautiful mothers, our spouses, sisters, and just incredible parts of our men life. And moving into the next topic, so let's talk